Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today, we're going to talk about intonation. The most common type of intonation is what we call falling intonation. And that's when you start a sentence with a high voice and you bring your voice down. We use this intonation when we're telling stories. If you listen to my next few sentences, you can hear that my voice usually starts high and works its way down to becoming low. There's a couple of reasons why we do this. One is so that you know that I'm not asking a question. If I was asking a question, it would kind of sound like this, with rising intonation, and that's not appropriate for stories. And it also doesn't sound very confident. Can you imagine that if your boss asked you, "Is the job finished yet?" and he uses rising intonation, "Is the job finished yet?" If you reply by saying yes or no, he's going to pick up that something isn't right. So a more determined yes or no would give him the answer that he wants. With regards to falling intonation, what's very good about it is it kind of seals the sentence. Because your voice is coming down at the end, it sounds as if you're confident, you're sure, and the sentence is closed so that no one can argue with you. Compare this, for example. Your English is good. Your English is good? Your English is okay? English is good? Or your English is good? The last one there is bringing in hesitation. So, of course, the way you use your intonation is very, very important. So, we've just spoken about rising intonation and falling intonation. Falling intonation is what I've just been using, bringing my voice down. Rising intonation is when I put my voice up, when I'm unsure because it's a question. Now, these things are very, very important in English because they give psychological messages. Falling intonation is, don't mess with my mind. Don't play with me, huh? Just tell me the truth. This is quite authoritative, isn't it? And rising intonation, on the other hand, is more about questions, but it also gives the idea that you're somehow unsure. Now, I'm going to play a couple of clips for you. They're quite funny. It's basically a man who goes out and asks some Americans basic questions about geography. And we're going to hear the answers. Don't worry too much about the questions and answers, but I want you to hear the intonation of the man asking the questions and the intonation of the people who answer. Okay, let me play these for you now.
Do you know how many stars there are on the U.S. flag?
52?
Yes. What state is Utah in?
Michigan?
Yes. You know what state Utah is in?
Utah, to be honest with you, I never heard of that place ever in my life.
Okay, so in the last one there, the woman is very confident. She says, "No, I've never heard of Utah in my life." So she's using falling intonation, which gives us the idea that she's never learned that information. She's not allowing any room there for the idea that maybe she learned it a long time ago and she's forgotten it. She's saying, "No, I've never heard of that in my life. It's finished. It's closed." And by doing that, she's also stopping the man by asking further questions. If he wants to probe her answer, he's not able to say things like sure, positive, because she's already made a really strong statement there. This is the idea of intonation. we give people messages which seem to run parallel to the words. The example I always give is if you ask me how I am. How are you, Teacher Joseph? I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah, well, yeah, fine, I suppose. The last one is kind of showing you that I'm not fine. It's kind of giving you a message there, but yet the word sounds positive. And this is the difficulty with reading people or learning another language. Because of our politeness, we don't speak directly. You'll always get the positive word, but how we give you that word is what you're supposed to read by the intonation. I mean to say, it's how you read the person by how they say the word. Okay, so how you hear the word, of course, but how that word is, how it's pronounced, is exactly the real message. So there's no use running away to the dictionary to see what the word fine means, because fine is always going to mean good. So it's how it's said is giving you that secondary meaning. We speak primarily with words, and our secondary way of communicating is with our intonation. Just like if someone's in an orchestra and music is being played, but yet somehow the note isn't right and you can hear it because it stands out. That's how important intonation is. Let's listen to a few more questions.
I live under a rock.
Can you name 3 countries besides the USA?
I suck at history. That was like my worst subject. Can we do like science?
No. Any 3. Any 3. You know this.
A country? Oh my jeez, this is terrible. Oh my god. A country. Wait, besides the U.S.?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay, so in this case, you can hear there that the man is asking the woman to name any 3 countries outside of the US. The woman responds, and she's very nervous, so she speaks very quickly. She responded by saying, I studied history, meaning I can't give you the answer that you want. And then she gets a bit stressed, and so she repeats the question with a rising intonation. She asks the question again, and he says, yeah, any 3. It's very interesting, this, for a number of reasons. The first reason being that there is a stereotype in the UK that Americans are really bad with geography, and on hearing this clip, it sounds like they really are, doesn't it? At the start of this little video clip that you heard, this sound clip, a woman says, oh, I live under a rock, okay, which means that I'm like an insect that lives under a rock. I don't know what happens in the real world. It was just a continuation from the last video clip, but it's a nice phrase to use. There's a couple of very worrying things here, though. One is that Americans really aren't good with geography. It's being highlighted in this clip here. And another thing that it's really highlighting is how we use intonation when we get nervous. When we get nervous or if we feel trapped, we sometimes immediately ask questions and our voices go up because we feel a bit nervous, you know. Whereas if we wanted to hide our fear, perhaps as politicians do sometimes, we would change our intonation. I'm not scared. This is just another example of how we use intonation. Now, these clips have been in colloquial American English. The grammar and speech have been very good, but you may have struggled to catch just a little bit of what they were saying because they were talking fairly quickly. Let's just do a couple more before we end.
I can't.
All right, it's fine.
I can't do history. I can't.
Do you know how many dimes there are in the dollar? Make up $1.
A dime is the 10 cent or the 5 cent?
Okay, this one is a bit harder because it's something which is specifically American. The man says, how many dimes are there in a dollar? Now, for me as a British man, even I would struggle with that. As far as I know, a dime is 25 cents. That's what I think it is. Okay, I haven't checked. And the woman there is kind of struggling. She's saying, a dime is what? Well, I don't blame her because I don't know what a dime is either. But anyway, these are just examples to follow up on intonation. So you can hear there that their voices are going very much up and down when they're asking questions. I just really wanted to highlight this so that you can hear how we use intonation. It hasn't really covered how it's used psychologically, but it's covered the main part. That if you want to ask a question, then you need rising intonation. All right. Okay, that's it from me. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and we will definitely come back to look at this on another day. See you. Bye.